Chapter 15 is going to cover the autonomic nervous system, but to understand it, let's talk a little bit about organization. So we learned in Chapter 12 that the nervous system is divided into two separate parts, the central, which is composed of the brain and spinal cord, and the peripheral. The peripheral is going to be anything that comes off the brain and spinal cord, ganglia, nerves, sensory receptors, special senses. Within the peripheral nervous system, it is going to be subdivided into two major systems. These systems are going to be the autonomic and the somatic. We will discuss the difference between both of these, but the primary focus of this chapter will be autonomic. When you think about autonomic, think about the word automatic. Basically, what this system controls is sensations that we do not control voluntarily, so it's involuntary or unconscious actions within your body. For the autonomic nervous system to function, it will innervate smooth muscle, cardiac muscle, and glands. Both smooth and cardiac muscle are involuntary muscles, and glands we do not consciously control. Now the somatic is going to be different because somatic is going to control your skeletal muscles, which are voluntary. So we have conscious control of the somatic nervous system. Now, as you can see, the autonomic nervous system is going to be subdivided even more into what we call antagonistic groups. These two groups that we call antagonistic basically means that they have opposite effects. So the sympathetic system is known as fight or flight, or it's also known as the 4 E's, or the E division. Sympathetic system is going to be in control in emergency situations, very exciting situations, embarrassing situations, and when you're exercising. Now, the parasympathetic system is known as rest and digest. We also know this system as the D system. This system is going to be in charge of breaking down food so you can actually harness the energy from it for the sympathetic system. So parasympathetic, rest and digest. You take in food, it's the system that is going to help you break down that food, harness the energy to be used later on. This is also the system that is going to increase digestion, defecation, and diuresis, which is urination. So we're going to talk about both the somatic and the autonomic so we can understand the differences. But to begin, there's going to be an overall pathway that we see in the nervous system. We've talked about this since Chapter 1 when we talked about the feedback cycle, but this is just putting it in a little bit different thought. So in every single pathway, regardless if it's somatic or autonomic, we're going to have 5 main components. We're going to have a receptor. The receptor is going to actually detect the stimulus. The stimulus is then going to travel down the sensory neuron into the spinal cord. So we're bringing this information into the back of the spinal cord. Once the input travels down the sensory neuron, we need to integrate the information within the central nervous system. This is going to be performed by the interneurons, which are also known as association neurons. Once the interneurons integrate this information, they're going to continue on the pathway, and they're going to communicate with the motor neurons. The motor neurons are going to send the output out the front of the spinal cord. This output is going to take the information to the effectors, so some type of reaction can occur. Effectors are commonly muscles or glands. If the effector is a skeletal muscle, which system are we referring to? If you said somatic, you're right. If the effector is cardiac muscle, smooth muscle, or glands, which system are we referring to? If you said autonomic, you're right. If the muscle actually increases its function, such as muscle in the heart, an increased reaction. Do you think it's going to be sympathetic or parasympathetic? Sympathetic is correct. But what if we wanted to increase the rate of digestion? So peristalsis, which is contraction of the smooth muscle in the digestion tract. What if we wanted to increase the rate of that? Which system would be in charge? If you said parasympathetic, you're correct. What I want to remind you of is that with these two systems, since they're considered antagonistic, they have opposite effects. Most organs are going to be what we consider dually innervated. Dual innervation means that the organ will be affected by both sympathetic and parasympathetic systems. Now, not all structures in your body will be dually innervated, but many of them are. And their systems are going to have opposite effects. Sympathetic is going to usually increase the reaction in most cases, where parasympathetic will usually decrease the reaction. The exception to the rules with parasympathetic are usually going to be it increases digestion, it increases defecation, and it increases urination. So in general, though, parasympathetic will decrease while sympathetic will increase.